what advice would you give someone that's pregnant or maybe first time or going to be pregnant or any of that stuff? What advice would you give somebody?
Do your research. Go to a hospital because oh my God, go to a hospital. I know that if we had been home or in a birth center, neither of us would have survived. I also know that I survived because of my privilege. Go to a hospital. You have continuous monitoring. His D cells scared me so badly. And it was, I think that started just, a few minutes before. And I felt like I had never been so panicked in my life while that was happening. But like, really do your research, read up on things, even if they're rare and you don't think they're going to happen to you, have some sort of an idea of what can happen, because we hear about the risks of C-section all the time. We don't necessarily think about the risks of vaginal delivery. Like, oh, okay, you might have an episiotomy. You're still going to have baby, like, don't, talk everything over with your doctor early. Like when you get pregnant, start talking about how you want to have that baby and find out from them what they expect. Find out what your hospital policies are. Get things lined up for afterwards. Make sure that you know all about, safety once you leave the hospital. Advocate for yourself, because sometimes nobody's going to do it for you. I don't know, with different strains of COVID, if we'll get to a point where you're only going to be allowed one support person or no one. Because one of the things that scared me the most was we were right outside New York, and New York hospitals were starting to not let anyone in. So you couldn't have a support person a lot of the time. And I was terrified that I was going to have my husband there. And if I hadn't had my husband there, I'm not sure that I would have survived, because he was the one who had to keep running back and forth, making sure that he got the doctors into the room, because no one was listening to me because, oh, you're hysterical. You just had a baby. And I think he must have run back and forth from the nurse's station like 3 times before people came back in. So know what your hospital's policies are. Pack your hospital bag.
Yes,
early
early.
enough. Because when find out whether or not you need to bring all your stuff with you to the hospital if you're having COVID, baby. But yeah, I mean, you have to do your research. Nobody talks about this stuff. I had no clue that, 4th degree tears could happen. I had no idea that a teeny tiny baby could do damage. And it, when I mention it other places, people don't, other people don't know about it. I've had people, if I've mentioned it in passing on like a Facebook post or something, I've had people go, ooh, I just looked into that. I had a 2nd degree tear and that was bad enough. What do you mean you have a 4th degree tear? Like, what does that mean? But like, people need to talk about this stuff. Nobody is talking about it. Or at least nobody talked to me about it. And I know that in some of the support groups that I'm in, the majority of the people that are also in those groups didn't know about them either. And, know what your risks are and know that it's not your fault. These things are not your fault. Make sure you advocate for yourself and that there are other people that are going to advocate for you. Know that if you want a C-section or you want a vaginal birth, that if it's safe, you can elect that. I say that because, if somebody's saying, people are saying that my doctor is saying that I need a C-section, but I don't want a C-section. Well, look into that further. But if you are being pushed into a vaginal birth, also advocate for yourself and find out why they're saying that it's contraindicated.
Why did she say, do you know the reason she said that a C-section wasn't good for you personally?
She just said that he was going to be tiny. She didn't tell me why he would be why it would be contraindicated. Just that, I guess, because he was measuring the way that he was measuring, and that I didn't really have risk factors for anything that might go wrong. Like, why not? Why put your body through surgery? Well, because I want surgery.
The one thing that kills me is the people who are like, I birthed this 10-pound baby and it tore me up, but we're just going to have some surgery to put it back together. And I'm thinking, one, it's not going to go back together the way it used to be. And two, that C-section scar, trust me, is generally not a big deal.
Right.
It's not on your tender bits. That's
Right.
for sure.
Right. I would much rather have that type of scar than the ones that I have.
Yes. There are reasons that some people should not have a C-section, but most of the time they're serious health issues. They're not because baby is small. That's not really a reason.
Right. If there had been a reason like my body can't handle anesthesia or, whatever, then
platelets are in the toilet or something.
Right. If it's, if there are medical reasons that you shouldn't have one, then listen to your provider. But if you're not being given reasoning for not having the type of birth that you want, it's okay to question that, but also listen to the evidence-based stuff. Always follow the evidence-based stuff. Yeah. And you can fire your nurse if you need to.
Yeah, that one, I'm not sure anyone would want her, but yeah, you could have pushed her out of your room.
Yeah, that was not good.
COVID's no excuse for anything, but it sounds like they were scraping the bottom of the barrel with that one.
Yeah, it was rough.
So did you get very much support? I know you had like COVID times going on, but did you get very much support afterwards for either helping with baby or helping to take care of you?
My parents came a couple of times, but everybody was just so freaked out about COVID because it was the middle of May. So nobody really knew what was going on. And we didn't want to put anybody at risk because we had been in the hospital, potentially exposed. So we didn't want to put family or friends at risk coming over if we had contracted it while we were there. So my mom and stepdad dropped off food a couple of times. They were the ones who kind of met him from afar first. That my in-laws came up a couple of times and they were like, both of you, we're fine with the baby, just go sleep. So people were good about, coming over and telling us to take a nap, and that they would take care of him. But yeah, it was just so scary that we'd been told all of this time to not let people in, and that you weren't going to have support. That, when he finally came and there were all the complications, we were like, yeah, but should we actually listen to them when they're telling us not to get, when they're telling us that we need to get help, or do we do what we're doing and not, so. And I would say we definitely didn't get as much help as we would have and would have expected for non-COVID time, but yeah, we got some.